Today we are going to do a video. I took this antique boat. It's a 1959. I'm having a brain lapse this morning on the brand it was, but me and my wife looked it up. Found out it was pretty mass produced in this day and kind of like a Model A. They don't pull big money when you restore them. We actually found one running with a motor on it on a trailer for under $2,500 in pretty decent shape. So there's just products like that. I mean, I took it in trade one day on a job to try to help the customer out. It was a big job. At the end of it, they wanted to do a couple more things. This was in the barn, and I thought it'd be a neat project to restore it. I also got into sanding it a few months ago and found out we were all under the impression, because it's a 1959 boat, and it had plates. Back then, the boats had a plate, and it had a 1960 and a 1961 New Hampshire registration plate on it. So it was hanging in that barn. The woman I was working for knows it had been hanging in there for a lot of years. So we were all under the impression it probably didn't get much use. And what I found out after digging into it, I started sanding on it because it had quite a few layers of paint on it. There was some pretty, I'm going to say, shoddy patchwork done to it. It was hidden pretty well with layers and layers of paint. I'm going to guess this hit something pretty hard at one time and popped a hole, probably a 5 or 6 inch hole through it. It was patched and probably used quite a bit. Like I said, more than we all thought it was. But the more I looked into it, it had some pretty bad dry rot on the bottom of it. What we've decided to do is I've done at least 2, maybe 3 gardens, flower gardens and boats, and you make like a raised bed with them. It was before I started doing the YouTube thing, so I've never taped. I don't have any of it on tape or pictures of it. So what I'm going to do with this is I have a customer I just finished a pretty good sized job on earlier this spring. Him and his wife decided they think they would like this. It's a rental property. They rent 5 cottages and a main house they have on the lake. And I came up with the idea. I ran it by him, and then he's like, well, when my wife comes up, run it by her, and they think it's a good idea. We came up with a price on making this into a flower bed. So basically we're going to take, he's got one of the rental properties. The 5 rental properties have a septic that pumps up to the back. So it's a big commercial septic, and it's got a big long sand bank that has had some issue. Couple years, a tree fell, hit the edge of it, and broke one of the sewer pipes, and the sand kind of puked out, so they had to repair it. So he'd like to do something there anyways that would protect it a little bit more. So what we're going to do, this video is going to be, I don't want to say I'm going to restore this, but I am going to paint it. I've already got into doing one side. I'll show it. One side I had stripped, and you can see I painted half of it. It was flipped up, so that one side of it I patched up a little bit and primed. This video is going to show, I'm going to flip it completely upside down today and get the whole bottom painted. I also want to do some type of cribbing to it so that I want it to tilt one way or the other, so that when you're driving down the driveway, we're going to make it look like it's beached on rock. We're going to use round river rock, or it's bank run gravel that I took the rock out of. So it's basically like 5 or 6 inch round rock. That's basically what their shorefront on Great East Lake looks like. So we're gonna make it look like it got beached there. I'm gonna paint it up so it looks pretty decent. I'm actually gonna still clear coat the top. Overall, I think I'm gonna put the steering wheel back on it, and I'm gonna use solar lights, but I'm gonna put the lights on it so at night they come on. So you'll have the green and red in the front, and I'm going to put a solar light in the back. I'm not 100%. I'm going to kind of wing it as I go. We came up with a price so that I think I can do something kind of cool on. These cavities, I'm going to build basically a planter box. So the problem I had in the past when I did one of these gardens was it was a wooden boat. It was a sailboat, same thing. We took it out of a guy's barn that I was working for, and realized it had a water, the leak in his barn was dripping into that boat for years and he didn't know it. So when he uncovered it, he found out it was rotted, so we made a garden out of it. The problem we had is when I filled it with loam, it only lasted 4 or 5 years and then it kind of broke out. It ended up being something that looked kind of cool, so he just let it fly until it got real bad. That one there was probably 12 plus years ago that we did it. And he basically got 6 or 7 years out of it and then moved on to something else. I want to try to make this one last. So I think if I seal it good, paint it good, and don't have it full of loom where it's going to be pushing out on these sides. So just kind of make it look kind of cool. I want it to look like it's in real good shape, even though it's not. But it was a learning thing. I thought it would be kind of cool project to restore it. And I also have an old Johnson motor that I was going to put on it that I got from another barn years ago. It ended up being a pretty good motor once I went through it. So that was the idea. I was going to actually restore this, put that motor on it, and make it a usable boat for somebody. I don't personally want the upkeep of a wooden boat anyway, so it was going to be something I did and sold. Didn't work out, so this is what we're going to do. Some people might like it, some people might hate it, but we'll find out. I think it's going to be a cool project for me and my daughter to do. She's already picked, she's got a plan, pretty good plan on what she wants to do with the flowers. And we already have, this is a property, we already have a bunch of planters. This will give that long driveway some pop in the middle and also retain that bank that's the edge of a commercial septic system. So we're going to get to it. I just want to take a quick view of it now. I've got it flipped upside down. I'm actually popping the hardware off. And like I said, I'm going to try to make it look like it's a restored boat. Except I'm not getting that crazy with it. It's going to be for our cosmetics. But you can see it's been painted a few times. The original color of the boat, I believe, was blue with white side. And then the top was clear coated like a varnish. What I'm going to do is paint the whole bottom white. And I think I'm going to do these rub rails red. At least this one rub rail. This bottom one's not going to show. But I want to show the dry rot. You can see the nail marks. There's a difference between dry rotted and rotted. I mean, rotted is normally something you can take your fingers and rip apart. This doesn't come apart when you take your fingers and dig into it. But if you can literally, with an 80 grit piece of sandpaper, I could probably sand through, that 3/4 of an inch of board in a matter of like a minute. It's just very soft wood, so I'm trying to seal it. And I'm going to seal it with this primer. Then I'm going to use a exterior. I might even still get like a boat type paint. I'm going to try to use the best product that I can because I want this to look decent for a long time for them. I did wear a mask when I sanded this because you don't know, it's old enough so it could have been lead paint. My wife came out and to check to make sure I was. But to me, it does seem like latex. It's not an oil base, which the oil bases had the big problem with the most years ago. Most of your shiny paints or semi-gloss paints were oil based. But we're gonna get this done, and like I said, we'll get it primed, get it painted, and I think it'll be a cool project. I finished cleaning up some edges and used a silicone type paintable caulking in some of the real deep spots. Like I said, I'm painting this to make a garden out of. I'm not painting it to put in the water to float. Other than that, I'd probably be using real high-end paints. Valspar makes a paint primer mix. It's like $53 a gallon. I think I'm going to get a gallon of that. I think I'm going to go gloss. I was thinking semi-gloss, but I think the old boats, if you look at them restored, most of them now people are using like an automotive paint on and then gel coating over it. What I'm doing with this is to show, I want it to look good as a garden. But I'll show you, I did the double coat on this side, so it's not a lot of bleed through. And I put it on there like I meant it because it absorbs right in. I'm going to let this dry for 3 or 4 hours, and I'm going to come in and give this a second coat. And I'll let it dry probably for a day. Then I'm going to go over it with the Valspar paint that I'm going to pick up today. I'm pretty sure I'll show whatever I'm going to use for a product for the actual paint, and I'm going to either do a red or these rub rails. I'm either going to do red or blue, and I'm also going to make some type of crib that will hold this. I want it to lean out to probably 3 or 4 inches tipped up so that you can see the flower beds in it better as you drive by it. It's going to be somewhat up on a pedestal in a sense of rock, because we're going to make it look like it's beached, but I just want to show people where we're at this point. I wouldn't do this to a boat that had big value, like if you restored it, it's worth $10, $12, $15,000 even without a motor on it. But this boat, if I would have taken the time and restored it correctly, I would have been upside down, is the reality, because you just don't, there's no money to be pulled out of the other end. A lot of people are going to argue that, the antique boats, there's certain ones, just like antique cars. Some cars are worth money, some aren't. I just thought I'd show along the line and explain to people, because I know I'm going to have someone make a comment of how I was an idiot for making this a flower bed. I've got it all primed and gave it another heavy coat. Now I'm going to paint it with Valspar Medallion Plus, they call it. I haven't bought paint for a while, and when I say for a while, probably, I mean, I might have bought a quart of something here and there, but like I haven't bought a gallon of good paint for a while. The last time I did was $50-something a gallon, and I was like, holy crap. This morning I go to get this, and I have them shake it, because I just ended up getting a bright white, had them shake it. And I get up to pay for it, $76.99, basically for that 1 gallon. But I can't imagine people that are painting these big New Englanders up in this town. Now, I used to paint houses. Now I don't really want to be on a 40-foot ladder anymore. But you get your house painted now and someone tells you, like I do know a woman this year that got a price on getting her New Englander house painted. And she got prices from $22,000 to $27,000. But then you look at what a gallon of paint goes for, and if you paint a house right, you go through a lot of gallons of paint. But then same thing, the primer. But like, to give a reality, I'm probably going to use a couple quarts of that on this boat. And I'm only painting it from this rub line down. The top of it's going to be a varnish type thing. But I'm going to have, I'm going to guess I'm going to have a couple $100 in paint products just to paint that little boat. If I was painting that to put back in the water, you're probably going to have $1,000 in paint. It's crazy. I just thought I'd show where we're at on this, and I'm going to do some type of cribbing on it, and then I'll show what we're going to do with that too. Once I get this painted, I'm going to have to slide it around a little bit to get it in the trailer to get to the job, get it out of the trailer, get it on the ground. So I think I'm going to make either oak or pressure treated like cribbing system that this will skid around on, and you won't see it once it's put in place. Plus I think it'll be a good idea to keep it up off the ground. Even though there's rocks there, some air will get in there and keep this from, I'd like to think this is going to last them 10 or 12 years without rotting out anywhere. Just showing I'm putting a pretty heavy coat. It seems to be laying out nice. The humidity today is bad. Probably the worst we've had out of all the rainy week we've had. And I shouldn't say rainy, it's just been real humid. We've only been getting like spot showers. I'm using a pretty good quality brush because this is pretty rough, so I'm trying to work it in. You know, he knows me and he trusts me. Pretty much what he told me, he said, I trust what you're gonna do. But he said, I don't want another thing that I have to have a painter touching up every year. But I think when I put this in place, it will be good for 4 or 5 years is what I'm guessing. Then you might have to touch it up. This is a pretty heavy coat I'm putting on, and I think I'm gonna put one more on it once I flip it up to do the varnish on the top. I'm not 100% sure. There is a product, a guy up here that builds houses and does a lot of his own painting. He also restores old wooden doors that are on these old houses up here, and he told me a product that same hardware store I used this morning sells for redoing the old wood doors, and I think I might use that on the top. I didn't look in, I'm quite sure Sherwin-Williams and places like that, they probably have a marine grade paint you can do stuff with. I can't imagine what a marine grade paint would cost right now. I'm gonna paint this, I'm gonna let this sit until tonight. I'll probably come back out here, like, right now it's like 9 in the morning. I'm probably gonna come out again 8 o'clock tonight and put another coat on this. I'm gonna probably put the exhaust fan to get the air moving in here. Because right now it's probably 81 degrees in here in the high humidity, so this isn't gonna be real quick about drying. I'm also gonna work on making a frame. Once this gets to the point where it's somewhat dry today, I gotta do some deliveries today. Once I get done that, I'm hoping this dried enough where I can come in and do that cribbing I wanna do. I put the cover on that paint and threw it on the floor because I don't want it falling off something and dumping. But I just want to show I got that coat on. This is a semi-gloss paint. I wanted a gloss paint, but they don't even set that. Hardware doesn't even get, all they carry is semi-gloss, is the shiniest. This is probably going to be the side that sticks into the dirt bank. I'm gonna guess this side. This side's probably gonna be the, we'll call it the money side. But I'm gonna let that up. Like I said, I wanna make it look like it's just got used and crashed there type thing. This one doesn't look bad in the picture right now probably, or the video, but it's pretty tender. If you were putting this back in the water, you'd probably have to redo the whole center of this boat. We're back in the garage. I just want to show people how I did my runners. That's all scrap that I had left over from a job a few weeks ago. And you can, I don't know if you can see in the camera, but that 2x4 there had a pretty good swing to it. Another thing I'll bring up in this video is the pressure treated we get now. The quality they use, the quality of lumber they use to pressure treat, I don't understand. Guys like me, I'd rather pay a little extra and get a piece that's not all knots, and they're just crappy piece of wood. It's sad, but this is a good project to use that type of wood up. I want it not to rot, basically, and I don't want this boat, when it's sitting there as a flower garden, sitting directly on the ground. I want air to get underneath it, and we're going to be backfilling around it. We're going to make it look like it's beached on Round Rock, because that's what their beachfront at this lake property this is going to looks like. So I believe it's going to look pretty cool, and that will let some air get under it and also distribute the weight a little bit. But I just thought I would show where we're at this point and how I did it and why I did what I did. I just want to show, it took 3 heavy coats of that paint, the white, and then I just put 1 coat of the red for the rubber rail, and I'm just using the Ultra Cover Rust-Oleum. It seems to be pretty decent. I've used it before and had pretty good luck with it, but that's 1 coat of that. I'll put another coat on later. And then what I'm doing from this point on is I'm going to flip it so that it's on the bottom part of the pressure treated, put it back up on sawhorses, and then I'm going to do the top. And from that point on, it shouldn't get too scratched up. I'm quite sure I'll ding up the white flipping it, but just no, believe it or not, it's not super heavy. It's just awkward. Even for 2 people, it's just like gets away from you. But like I said, I'm going to flip it, put it back up on the sawhorses, and then I want to make the top look pretty decent, and we'll figure out how we're going to make the flower inserts. Like I said, I don't want to fill this whole thing with loom. Put the steering wheel back in it. I mounted the light in the back because I'm going to put a solar light on that so it comes on at night. I'm also going to put one on the front and try to make the green and red light like it's a real light on. Make them both so they're both solar powered. What I'm doing in here, so we're not filling the whole boat with loom and it's going to make it rot out, is we're going to make basically a cavity in there to put loom in. And I'm going to do a little bit of mulch, so it's got to be, I want to be able to fill them to where stuff's going to stay in. I think we're going to do 3 separate gardens in here because it's kind of separated with the seats. And I think that's probably a good depth to go from, is where the seat is. So we're basically going to make 3 boxes that are, let's say, 8 or 10 inches deep, so we can put plants in them. I got to finish the rub rail with the red on top. Everything underneath's done. This is going to be the side of the boat that shows from the road driving into this property. It's going to look like a rustic restoration.
I did sand that top with a little orbital this morning, and takes it right off. And I'm going to clear coat the top so that it's got wood look. I put one of the old plates back on it. It's a 1959 boat. Back then they registered with a plate, so I'm going to leave that plate on it. And I'm going to try to, like I said, we're going to do 3 separate cavities with, I'm going to do 3 separate flower beds in here so that it's color contrast. And I'm also going to probably put like a rubber roofing in there so that this thing doesn't rot out quite as quick as I've done. I think this is either the 3rd or 4th one I've done. I've never videotaped it before. In the original one I did, I was amazed how quick it rotted out because it was full of loom and that pressure was pushing out. The top part of this boat seems to be the strongest point, so I don't think it would come apart for a long time, but I don't want that kind of weight. It's going to be a lot easier to put in place and fill these beds, and I think some of the flower, it's a mixture of annuals and perennials that we're putting in it. So we'll have to redo the flower beds every year anyways. We'll see. I might try to put stuff in it because I think it'd be kind of cool to have something that would creep over the edge of it. We'll see where it goes when it's done, but I just thought I'd take a shot where we're at now. It's going to have like a barrier, and I'm going to drill a hole so that the water drains out of those flower beds and not into the boat. It's going to come out the bottom of the boat. So, but I just thought I'd take a shot where we're at this point, and I'm going to go for it. I don't know what they put on these back in the 50s, but it was rugged. I mean, I thought I was going to hit that with a little bit of 220 with an orbital sander. I hit it with 220 in one spot, it come off, but I think it was a repair spot. The stuff that was originally put on this boat in 1959 come off like, it was like sanding concrete. But today, I used Weather Shield in the base of the cavities that I made for the flower beds. And what it is, I have a bunch of rolls that will have like 2 or 3 feet left on them, and I always keep them. And like I said, I put 2 or 3 layers of it in there. I'm also going to lay a piece of plastic in there, and then I'm going to drill a hole so there's a hole in one corner. And same thing with the back of the boat. I'm going to drill a 1-inch hole and stuff that if they get flooded to the point where they would kill the plants, I want it to be able to drain out. The only time it's probably ever going to drain is if we have a 2 or 3 inch downpour for a day. But I found with the galvanized pots that I do, you have to drill them like 6 inches up, or they can get to the point where they can kill it saturates the plant for too long if you get 2 or 3 days of heavy rain. I may even go to the hardware store today and get a fitting that will go in the bottom of this, so that I can actually run a hose from each one so it goes out the back. But I'd like to see this thing last 10 or 12 years before it like pops apart. The joints seem to be pretty good shape. There's a lot of issues with the boat. That's why we're not restoring it to be a boat again. We're going to be doing a flower garden. Another thing I did last night is I hit that with automotive clear, and it didn't seem to react weird to the white that's in. Some of these boats, if you look, have the white in between. Some of them had like a gold flake, or even painted yellow, so it stuck up. It said they look like gold, but back in '59 there was probably a gold flake in there originally, in a lot of the high-end boats. This one here just had white to give it that little kick. But what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to finish. That didn't seem to react funny last night, so I'm going to do the whole top of the boat with the automotive clear. I looked into it to get there was a guy up here that restores the old doors from New England homes, and he told me about a product, but it's $88 for a quart of it, and for what we're doing here. And I know that automotive clear, I believe, will have no issues. It absorbed, the first 2 coats went right in good, so I don't believe I'm going to have an issue doing that. And then we'll put the hardware back on it, and I believe that will be it for this. And overall, it was a little more of a project than I thought, but normally you just take a boat, fill it with loom, and call it good. But this had to get painted, and I wanted to paint it. I want this thing to look good. It's like a, I want to say 150 foot plus driveway. This will break that up a little bit, and I think will look kind of cool. And I found some solar lights last night. Like I said, I think I got a solar light that's going to go in that original aluminum rail for the backlight, and I'm gonna try to figure out a way of doing one in the front and do the red and green like the boats have. But I just thought I'd take a shot where we're at this point and keep going. The bottom of those planters basically is a mixture of pressure treated and oak that came off my sawmill. Then I put the rubber weather shield in there, and then you can see where I use some oak slats and just kind of make sure it stays up there until we get the dirt in it. Once the dirt's in there, I'm also going to take a heat gun today, and you just take a heat gun and you can shape that and it will stick like iron. So all right, I touched up the white, finished that red rub rail on the bottom. I just bought a cheap solar light that will come on at night. There was one on the front of the boat and one near the steering wheel. The one near the steering wheel was off center. I don't know why, but I put it back there because it was that's where the holes were drilled, and I'm trying to keep it so that water won't get in where it doesn't have to. Then I kind of cut this light apart to fill that hole. Same thing, there was a big hole there. Right now that looks like white silicone, but it will dry clear, I should say. I clear coated the top, and we'll see what it looks like when it's all done. I think it's gonna be a cool project. On that long driveway, we're gonna put the boat planter on. I dug that hillside out this morning, brought some loom, brought a load of round rock. Between that and the rock I dug out, we're gonna come down. I didn't have the camera with me this morning, so we're just getting to it now, but pretty much this hillside, there's a big commercial septic up behind that. It's pretty far in. I'm not getting into anything with the sand, but we're basically going to make that around that boat, all that round rock, which is what the waterfront here looks like. So it looks like it got beached, and I'm going to fill it with loom right now. Tomorrow we'll probably plant it, and I ain't sure what we're going to do. I think it's going to be rock all around the boat, and I might throw a little bit of bark mulch just to doll it up a little bit. Brought the material with us, got all the flowers to put in it, and we're going to bark mulch up behind the boat with brown. Alright, I just want to show, I'm out at the end of this driveway, and we're just filling the gray buckets and putting them in the bucket of this tractor. Even though this is a driveway to rental properties, like you back in here with a trailer, the minute you do, someone wants to leave, you do it 2 or 3 times, and then I just said what we're doing, I think we'll get away with leaving it at the end of the driveway, and we'll do it this way. I've also got one of my bigger wheelbarrows, so. We're gonna take a last shot of it. The backdrop, he wanted to leave just natural. This is just a roadway that comes into these rental properties, but they wanted to start breaking it up a little bit because it's a long winding driveway. So we're gonna start doing some projects like this. I think we're gonna pick a project like this every year to add and make it. I think the word she used, she wants to make it a little more mystical coming in, but I think that looks pretty cool. Some people will get the whole number I use too, some people won't, but all I say is sing it and you'll understand. Alright, we're back home, finished up that boat job, so we're going to end this video here,
And again, I'm going to say, if you like my content, please like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.